Hello, this is Andrew, and I kind of screwed up the first part of this video, so I'm going to do it again the best I can. This is a video that's going to be about installing fenders on my Giant Revolt gravel bike so that I can ride it when it's wet outside, both by myself or with a group of people without spraying water everywhere. I went with these SKS fenders. These are the 50 millimeter version. They're called Chromoplastic Longboard 50, and they should fit 38, 45, 47, and my target wheel here is both 38 and 40, so these should be fine. As you can see here, I've already got the back one on, and one of the beautiful things about getting a bike with built-in fender mounts is that it has points here and on the other side where you just screw in, and then another one here where everything just kind of goes together. The Revolt also has screws here, which I imagine are for putting another, like a mount or something on it, but I don't think I'm going to need that, so I'm going to leave it off for now. And if I need to go back and put it on there again, I will. The only thing that I've really modified is that I put, where did I put that? Some of these guys. These are for plumbing. They're washers that you put into a faucet in certain places to the part of the faucet, the lever, and it keeps the water from leaking out. And so what I did is I put those between the metal brace here and the frame, where SKS doesn't provide a piece there for this, but it keeps this metal piece from making contact with the frame with a nice bit of solid rubber that should keep the frame nice. And I'm going to do the same thing up in the front, where SKS provides this hard plastic thing. And while this probably works well for what you need it to do, which is as a spacer, it's a hard plastic thing, and that's carbon. And I would rather not put this, and it's got little ridges on it. I don't know if you can see that really well. Maybe if I focus. You can see it's got little ridges on it, which I can't imagine that that's going to be awesome for the frame long term, especially as grit and stuff gets in there. So I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use this washer, this plumbing washer. And I've done this several times before when I put fenders on my bike, and these work great. On the Revolt, you have a mount here, and then on the other side as well. I was trying to use this one, but it doesn't work because of these don't move. This brace doesn't move. If you use a different fender, this brace might move, and you might be able to rotate these far enough that way where you could use the top one, but I have to use the bottom one. The other thing that I modified was that this, just pull this out. This fender originally has this bracket on the top like this, but the Revolt doesn't have the fender mount screw hole isn't here. It's inside the fork in here. So I just took a drill, drilled out the rivets that were holding this in place, and then made the hole a little bit bigger so that I can fit the screw through here. Oops. And then also, you're going to put one of these washers on there as well, just to keep the fender from making contact with the frame. So we'll pick it up here, putting this on. I've already kind of roughed out the measurements here, so let's get to it. And so, see the fender's on there. there's one last piece, which is this piece. None of these, all of these are too long. So I'm going to have to cut them down using a Dremel tool or something like that just to cut the metal part here. The one where this will fit is back over here, where it kind of fits over the top here of this metal bracing to keep you from hurting yourself on it, and then slips over the nut right like that. Yeah, but each one of these will just have to get cut with a Dremel tool or wire cutters if you have the forearms for it. I don't. But that's all there's to it. I guess we'll put the wheel on, and and one important thing is to see whether or not the through axles, if the lever, I have complained about this before, if the lever will work with it. All right, so here we are. You can see that this lever makes contact with the bolt here. And I guess if I used a smaller or shorter headed bolt, that might work, but that's not what came with the Fenders. This is hardware that came with the Fenders. And also I would suspect that that might not hold very well. So to get this on, of course, you got to do the thing that I mentioned before, which was to take the lever off the through axle, which is super annoying. And then, of course, it works. And then you can put it in whatever position that you want. I had the same problem with my Defy, and I ended up just getting, it's a trainer axle actually, to just put a trainer axle in here that used a hex key, so that I could take the rear wheel off and on it, because I used the Defy on my kicker quite frequently, and so that was something that needed to work like that. So let's spin the wheel. Actually, let's back up a little bit just to get better context on the wheel. Because we want to make sure that it spins inside the fender appropriately. And that looks pretty good. I don't know, I don't hear any rubbing, which is the most important thing. And then you also just want to make sure that because I didn't put this brace in here, that it's not making contact there. You can, of course, tweak that a little bit with these guys, either by making these longer, or sometimes it's making this one shorter just to push it up a little bit. But that is just something you have to play with. And then I also like to bend these out a little bit to get a little bit more space around the wheel. So let's move to the front now and see if we also need to replace the axle. I had already taken this off, just kind of preemptively. Let's grab our 40C wheel. Oops. And of course I put it in backwards because there we go. Fenders do make it a little bit harder to work with the wheels, but they're totally worth it if you ride in the wet. Okay, once that's on there, grab my lever, make sure it's on there, in there all the way, and then yeah, right away it makes contact with the screw. So that ain't going in there. The only way that's going in there is to do it like this. I guess I can move it out a little bit. And there we go. Let's check to make sure it's smooth as well. Oh, sounds like I'm hitting something. Oh, these little, these guys are rubbing a little bit somewhere in here. I'm not going to worry about that though, because those will come off. So the next step is to get this cut down so that I can install these little protective guys on top of that.
So cutting down the fenders was pretty easy, so I didn't bother recording it. If you know how to use a hacksaw or a Dremel tool or a pair of snips, if you have the forearms for it, that's all there is to it. I went for a ride this morning with the fenders, so I had a good chance to test them out, and they work fantastic. It takes about 5 minutes or so to put them on the bike, so you just have to drop the wheels out and screw them in. So it's really easy to put them on when you want them, take them off when you don't, and they do a fantastic job of keeping your legs and bum dry. So highly recommended. And one of the major benefits of having a bike like the Revolt here, which has integrated fender mounts, it just makes it super easy to get a full set of fenders on the bike.